meditation time today. I hope that you have had a wonderful day. I hope that you've had moments of peace and calm and joy throughout your day, and maybe even some present moment awareness. But just in case things have been a little bit off, we are going to make that our focus for these few minutes that we have, so that as we end our day and start our day and our week tomorrow, we will have this mindset that the present moment is where we need to be. So let's just settle into our spaces where each of us is and just get comfortable. Allow yourself just to kind of anchor down, feel the security of where you're seated, so that you can then gently close your eyes. Let's start to settle in with some good, long, cleansing breaths. As we've come to the end of this weekend, a new week ahead of us, let's use the breath truly just to cleanse and to help us feel not only the vitality of it, but the newness and the freshness of this moment where we are. So let's take a long, slow, deep breath in. And then just gently open up your mouth and sigh it out. And a nice, long, deep breath in. And gently sigh it out. And again, a slow, deep breath in. And sigh it out. And then just return to a normal rhythm of breath that feels right. But just notice those first few breaths, how you physically feel. The cleansing aspect of what breath provides for us. Yes, it brings us in new life, but in order to have space for the new life with each breath, we've got to let the rest go. It is this beautiful cleansing and filling rhythm with every breath we take. And so as you've connected to your breath and you're gently settling into your space physically, I want to turn our attention back to the same moral precept in the path of yoga that we started the last time we were together. And it is the idea of Satya. And Satya translates to truth. And we find the word Satya in the part of the yoga path that is about our interactions with others, how we present ourselves in the world and to the world. But what we learn about this whole path of yoga is that those things can't be possible unless we're also doing these things to and for ourselves. And truth is no different. The idea of bringing truth to our interactions with the people around us, interactions within the world, it all stems from truth within ourselves. And so I want these few moments that we have together today to be about this idea of true and right speech. And it's not as simple as what we tell kids when they're little about not telling a lie and always telling the truth. It's much deeper than that. It's learning to speak from this place within that is mindful and that is truly connected to the present moment. Because what we find is that whenever we are untruthful, it tends to have some connections to past or present. We're either having untruthful things to cover whatever might be coming, or we're doing it for whatever has already happened. But truth exists in the present moment. So the more we foster this practice of present moment living, the easier a life of truth is. You know, we all, as human beings, we have the same fundamental needs. And we all want the things that we do in our life to meet our needs and to meet the needs of those in our lives. But what tends to happen is that when my needs arise and I'm doing things to meet them and they're different than how you think things need to be to meet your needs, that's when we have conflict. That's when all of a sudden tensions begin to rise and truth gets lost. But wouldn't it be an incredible place to live in this world if each of us was working on fostering this present moment awareness, to mindfully think before we talk, to mindfully practice in meditation before we think. And if we can begin to do that, not if, when we begin to do that in our own lives, and then we're surrounded with others who are doing it as well, the conflict becomes less. And our ability to meet each of our own fundamental needs begins to be in harmony. I think we would all agree there is enough conflict in the world So what if our meditation practice could begin to inform these pathways toward harmony? I've studied a lot about right speech, and I've always been told that there are these gates to take in your head to pass through before you say something, especially in moments when it could be contentious or it could cause conflict. And what I've always been taught is that you ask yourself 3 questions before you say anything. Is it right? Is it necessary? And is it kind? But I've been studying a lot from the Buddhist perspective of how this right speech comes into the Buddhist path and framework for how they live. And I've learned that they've actually expanded that idea beyond just those 3 questions. And so they've come up with more questions to ask ourselves. And I know we're all thinking, how do I pause and ask myself all these questions before I ever speak? But what we find is that as we practice these things more and more, it becomes the default. We're constantly thinking these things in our head. So then our thoughts are right and are true, and then our speech follows. And so the questions that they have asked us to pose in our head before we contribute something into conversation, into the path that we're on, is still to ask, is it right, is it true? And then to ask, is it necessary? And then to ask if it's kind, but don't stop there. Then you should pause, they tell us, and ask yourself, what's my intention in sharing this? What's my motivation? What's my intention? What's my reason? Is it to uplift someone? Is it to prove that I'm right? Because often just those first 3 questions, yes, it's right, it's true, it's necessary, and I can say it kindly, but if my intention is just to prove that I'm right, was it really necessary? So what's our intention with the things that we share through our speech? And then the final question that they tell us to ask ourselves is, will my saying this be better than the silence that it's interrupting? Will my saying this be better than the silence that it's interrupting? Y'all, we live in a really noisy, loud world where there's very little room for silence. In fact, for many people, silence makes them really uncomfortable. It's not a familiar feeling. And so knowing that there's not a lot of silence in our world, wouldn't it make that question for us even more important? Satya, truth. If we could ask ourselves these questions as we're thinking, before we speak, and before we act, just think about how it could change your relationships. And then all of a sudden you begin to live this, and it's modeled out, and all of a sudden others are then doing it back toward you. And harmony begins to grow, and conflict begins to decrease. So just think for a second about any interaction that you've had today, and anything that you might have said to someone, and how you said it, and what the words were, and what the tone was. Just recall one interaction today. And let's take that interaction through these 5 gates, these 5 questions, and see if that interaction was going to come up now in about the next few minutes. Would you choose the same words? Would you choose the same tone? And at the bottom line, would you have even chosen to speak at all? So as you've recalled, and I have as well, one interaction that you've had today. First question is, was it true? Was it true? The second question, was it necessary? Meaning, did I need to say it? Was it necessary? And the third, was it kind? My word choice, my tone, the look on my face, was it kind? And let's take it to those last 2 questions. What was my intention in saying it? What was my intention in saying it? And finally, did I make it better than the silence that I was interrupting? So me saying what I said to that person, did I make it even better than the silence that I interrupted? And I can tell you, as I sit here and I ask those questions to myself, I pause and I think, had I asked myself these questions, I would have interacted differently a few hours ago. And I don't come to meditation to have regret, but I do come for awareness. Because sometimes we have the most benign or seemingly benign things that we say. But when we pause and we take it through those 5 gates, those 5 questions of right and true speech, we realize just because it was necessary, I didn't improve things by speaking. And my intention might not have been the best. And sometimes I'm not even sure if I was kind. So let's start from now, from this moment. And just think about the people who are the closest to you. Maybe they're in your home. Maybe they're your most immediate family. Maybe they are your long-time dearest friends. And a situation will come up in the coming days, invariably, where you're going to have a chance to be a part of an interaction, a conversation, where an opinion might be shared, a need or a want might be expressed. And you have the opportunity to ask yourself just before you respond, is what I'm about to say right and true? Is what I'm about to say necessary? Is what I'm about to say kind? And what's my intention in saying it? And will my saying it be even better than the silence that I would be interrupting by not speaking? And when we pause and we ask these questions, it doesn't take long. This is not a several-minute activity. It just is this constant awareness in our minds until eventually, truly, it becomes our default. And it's not that we're silent to people and that we ignore or that we just don't respond, but we start responding with mindfulness, which is the foundation of responding with truth. So let's just pause here for these next couple of minutes. And again, this is not about regret. We have all had moments over the last few days, I would almost guarantee, that we couldn't answer these 5 questions in the way that we want to. But I have a really good suspicion that in the days to come, we'll be more thoughtful about it. About how we talk to our kids, to our grandkids, to our partners, to our dear friends, our siblings, to all the people who are important in our lives. Don't they deserve for us to take our thoughts and our speech through these 5 gates of truth and necessity and kindness and intention, and measuring it against the incredibleness of the silence? So let's just pause, each of us sitting with our own truth, the truth of who we are, the truth of our intention that is grounded in the fact that we show up for meditation. And now let's just breathe and be. Gently bring your awareness back to the space that we're sharing together. Just remain with your eyes closed for just a bit longer. There's one final step to this process of speaking with intention, with present moment awareness, with truth, and with kindness. And that is, we need to explain to the people in our lives why we're responding or not responding the way that we are. They'll start to notice that we're doing things a little differently. And what a beautiful gift that you can give to them by explaining to them this path of mindfulness that you're on, and that you want it not just to be for these 15 or 20 minutes that you show up for meditation, but that you want it to inform how you speak, how you act, how you think. And just in your example, in your shift, and your explanation, you can begin to create pathways of harmony for the people in your life as well. That's when we know it becomes more than just our practice. It truly does become our life. I wish you a beautiful day tomorrow. I wish you a wonderful night's sleep. Continuing to breathe in and feel the truth from within you. Living from a place of mindfulness and intention. Namaste.